All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 8 of the Dash Walkthroughs. We got one of my former coworkers, Rishi, who I think I met you before. Actually, I was working at Edgio, but that's where we got to know each other better. And you kind of went solo, I think, and you have this project that is under your name. But why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about, your dev background and what you're doing?
Sure. Thank you for having me on the stream. I am Rishi from India, and the dev experience always starts from building static websites to. So the first thing that I learned in my dev experience was Angular with TypeScript, and so that was a whole lot of learning, and so that made you know switching between frameworks much easier, I would say. Recently, I launched Launchfast, which are a collection of starter kits in Next.js, SwiftKit, and Ascrew. I am pushing new integrations every day, and in the last 2 days, I've added AWS S3 as the storage provider and Cloudflare R2 as another. So I'm really pushing into being the right starter kit for you to get started. Yeah.
Do you have payments integrated with any of them?
Yes, I have Stripe and Lemon Squeeze integrated in both of them with the webhooks and checkout support. Yeah.
Oh, lemon squeezy. I don't know if I know that one. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, because that's one of the things I'm like, ooh, we should have you build in a Dash integration for it. But that would be its whole own stream. But so we've been doing, you're number 8, so you'll be the 8th person to do this. We're bringing devs on to kind of try out Dash platform, which is actually first. What's your experience with crypto?
I have literally no experience with crypto. I do have friends who are enthusiastic about it, but I have no experience. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well then this will be good. You'll be going in totally fresh. You probably at least heard of Bitcoin, I would assume.
Yeah, I've heard of it and its fluctuating rates. That's all I've heard.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. It's what about Bitcoin?
Uh, what I've heard is there's Bitcoin and it's been fluctuating quite up and down, and that's all I
Ah,
know
right.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the price is very volatile, and that's for crypto in general, it was such a huge problem. They had to invent a new type of cryptocurrency that was called a stable coin that would specifically not change in price. It would be pegged to like the US dollar. But Dash was originally a fork of Bitcoin, and it evolved because Bitcoin evolved to be more of what you call a store of value, where it's like you own like if you own a big hunk of gold, you're not gonna like parse that to pieces and go out and spend them or like kind of thing. So Dash was more like we want this to be a way to like do payments, so you can use it to like buy all sorts of stuff, and has like extremely low transaction fees. So if you're doing like cross border payments, be really good for that. So that's cool. And then that's been around for like 10 years or even longer. And now there's been this like 5 to 7 year long development of the Dash platform. And this will probably be pretty easy to explain actually, because you know enough about web apps. It takes the currency and the ability to transact with people, and it adds an identity layer and a storage layer, so that now you can actually have your own specific identity that you could make public or private, and you could transact with people privately, and then you could also store kind of like JSON like blobs in there. So if you wanted to have like a app that had user generated content, you could do all of that. So does that all make sense so far?
Yeah, totally. Sounds new and cool. Yeah. Let's see
Yeah,
how.
and so the most important things that you to really know about working with blockchain is that the way it works and the way it's able to secure your funds is by having the ledger itself and everyone's balances decentralized across various computers. So it's kind of like if you ever downloaded movies on BitTorrent or something like that. Once you download the movie, you got the seed, and then other people can seed from you. So it's kind of like that. You got all these nodes, and they each have ledgers, and then how a transaction is made, it gets added to a new block, and then once a block is full, and enough blocks have been confirmed, they all come to a consensus and then said, this is the canonical block. Now we go to the next block. And that's what the blockchain is. So the challenge with that is it is the same challenges that come with a decentralized system, where sometimes the network will just get confused or slow, and sometimes you'll hit a bad node. So just want to put that out there, because that may or may not happen. We'll see. I haven't tested the network today, so I have no idea what's going to happen. But that's kind of the fun of doing these live streams. So we should probably get into it now if you want.
Yeah, let's get started.
Sweet. So let's get your screen sharing, and you'll probably want like your code editor on like one side, the blog post on the other side, so you can kind of just scroll along.
Yeah, let me share my screen. So, yep. Cool. Does this look correct?
Yeah, and do it the other way so that the blog post is a little smaller than the code editor.
I see. How do I switch? I really don't know. I'm just going to compress.
Drag them. Yeah, just drag them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That should be good. I would say bump up your font in each of them like 1 or 2 times.
In the code editor?
Yeah, let's do one up in the code editor, and then 2 up in the browser.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And then you can start at the setup and configure node project. That's where the code actually starts.
Yeah, this one.
Yep. That's the one. Cool.
All right. So what I have right now is node 20.
That's perfect,
this is N, correct?
Yep.
Let's do it. So I'm going to create a directory. I already have, and then I create a package.json, and then I'm setting up the type module. So we are operating on ESM.
That's right.
And then we're installing a dash version, which is in dev. All right.
Yeah, and that's because, like I said, they've been working on this for years and years and years and years. But what's funny is actually they're launching like the first kind of official mainnet version in probably 2 months or so. And then the SDK that you're using is going to be an alpha version. So it's going to go from dev to alpha, and then eventually a beta, and the network will then get more stable as the new versions go up. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So I'm going to do the next step, which is add the .git ignore while it installs. So copy there. Yep. We will create each script file individually throughout the tutorial, but for the sake of simplifying life, while following along this tutorial, I would recommend adding. All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, so then you're gonna basically build each of these files, scripts individually, but then you'll just be able to run the command after you've done that.
Got it. Let this install command complete, and then we can add the scripts.
Cool. Yeah. While that's going, you can go to the next step and create some of the first files and directories if you want.
So we create 2 directories, which is API and web, correct? And then in API, I am to create a client.js.
How's the internet connection in India?
I am not sure what's happening though, but yeah.
This tends to happen when I'm streaming, as if I were trying to do anything involving NPM. It goes very slow.
No worries. I am still proceeding with the rest of the parts. It's good for now. Let me quickly copy this. So we install the dash module. We are using the dash module. We get the process env, and then we specify a client on the current network. The network is testnet. I've heard this as well. There are 2, correct? Testnet and mainnet, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, and that's what I was saying. You cannot do this on mainnet today, but you will be able to in like 2 months.
Got it.
And this also means all the money is pretend money. So like you're gonna get some dash, you're gonna spend some dash, but it's not a real dash. Whereas like a dash, like 1 dash is like $25 or something right now.
Okay. Cool. So we create a script, which is create wallet.js. Do that. So we're doing is creating wallet. Finally, it installed. That's great. Let me quickly jump to my package tabs. And go to the JSON, replace what we have in here. What we're doing in here is we are basically running the scripts that we will add. Okay, and then there's this command for running the API server. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good to me. let me add the create wallet. So we get the wallet. I have no idea what this is doing. And then we get the address for this particular thing, and then we're just logging them out. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'll have you run it first, and then I'll explain kind of what happened.
All right. Let me do npm run create wallet now.
Yep. And now I own your computer. No, I'm kidding. So for this, you have two things. The mnemonic is a 12-word seed phrase, and that is kind of like your password, is basically how you think about it. So since this is on testnet, all the funds are made up. It doesn't matter that it's like on a stream, but when you have a real wallet, you have real money in, you never ever want to expose this, because anyone who has this can take all your money. And then the address is going to be if you want to transact with someone, like that's the thing. So if I wanted to pay you $10 because you bought me a coffee the other day, you would send me that address, and then I would go into my Dash wallet, I would put in that address and say give a half a Dash or something to him.
Got it. So it's like every time payments.
Yeah, yeah. And every time you have a command where it outputs something that looks like this, you're going to want to copy paste it and put it into your .env. This will be integrated into the following commands as you go.
All right, let's put them here. Great, done. Yeah, so we have copied them into .env, and now we have to add funds to my fake wallet. Wait for the funds to be confirmed. So how do I go about this? You can check the status of information.
So there's two links in here. So first go to the testnet faucet. So open that guy up. And then this site is notoriously awful and flaky. So you're going to have to continue through that. Yep. And so grab that address and put it into the top field. The one that was, not that one. The one that's in your terminal. Yeah.
Got it. So this one is what I put in here.
And don't put it there. That's the promo code. I absolutely hate this website.
I see. Put it in here.
Yeah, no, you're not the first one to do that. Don't worry. And then click get coins, and then wait for the site to crash, and then we'll be good.
Okay.
Like 1 out of 10 times, it will give a message saying you now have 1.5 Dash, but 9 out of 10 times the site crashes, and that means it completed.
Something that needs to be fixed in here is for sure.
Yeah, totally. And what this is doing, so a faucet, a testnet faucet, that's good. That's what we want. The testnet faucet is just a way to load up some Dash, and so like I said, it's all pretend Dash. So this is not just like a pile of money sitting on the internet. It's a pile of fake money that everyone can kind of pull in if they want to test out different functionality. Because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an identity, and that requires Dash to do. So So are you trying to go to the block explorer? Was that the one that was?
Okay, so we are done here?
Yeah, you're done. We're done with the faucet. Yeah, so go to the next link, the Dash block explorer.
Sure.
And then now, let's see. Try
Okay, yeah, I think now it's starting to load.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the same address, you're gonna put at that very top field and search for it.
In here?
And so what this is like a UI to the blockchain itself. That's what a block explorer is. So when you have a transaction that's on the blockchain, you can go look at it through a block explorer. So you don't have to access it through like an RPC endpoint or something like that. You can just have this nice kind of front end. And if you see here, you don't have Dash, but it does say you have unconfirmed Dash. That means that the transaction is being added to a bunch of blocks, and they all need to come to consensus eventually, and then you'll have your Dash. But this is good. This means we can move on because you have the stuff to make the identity.
So we have searched for the wallet, and then we are, it needs to click on my transaction link, which I think I can skip for now.
Yeah, we can skip those parts. Yeah, that's just because you'll have your wallet, which will be on the block explorer, then every individual transaction will have its own specific transaction ID with like some steps of what happened in the transaction.
Got it. All right. Let's create the identity.js, which will be in here. So to create an identity, we will run dot register. All right. So this is pretty easy to understand. I believe I'm creating my own identity on the platform.
Yep. Let's
Easy.
just give you a identity ID.
And then just run this. We get
And this takes usually about 15 to 20 seconds to go
products.
through.
Says
So
this
the
IP.
so the identity ID will then be associated with a name, and the name. Did you ever see a couple of years ago? A lot of people had like .eth after their Twitter names.
Yeah.
So that was like an Ethereum namespace. It's
Mm-hmm.
both a namespace and a wallet. So that if I had AJC Web .eth, and if someone wanted to send me some ETH, they could just plug that in and send it because I bought that. So the name is going to be the Dash version of that. You'll have, Rishi.dash or something like that.
Got it. I'm just waiting for this to give me some.
This is always the fun part. Okay, so I can explain this next part actually. So then we're gonna have a slightly different explorer. We're gonna go to the platform explorer, which is actually really nice, and it's because I was saying how we had the original Dash, which was just the wallets and the payments kind of thing, and now platform has identities and storage. The platform explorer is going to expose those things. So this identity ID you're creating right now, that wouldn't be in the first block explorer because that's not part of the original Dash system. It's part of the Dash platform system. And this is something that like I only really know this at like a high level. So yes, it worked. Oh my god, that means the rest of the stream is gonna go so much better. All right, I'm gonna kick back now and let you do your thing.
So I have added the identity ID to my ENV.
And click that link that it gave you too. In your terminal is a link right there. You can click.
Yeah. I see. Mm-hmm. So basically, this is going to open the particular link that I'll be getting from these steps. Yeah. And all right, let this open up. We have an identifier, some balance for me, and then the right time. And then we have a transaction that has been performed already, and that transaction is creating the identity, correct?
That's right.
All right. Sounds good. And then for creating my identity, I got this much credits.
Yeah. So the credits are the very next part of the blog post explains this. I always forget the conversions because there's like hundreds of millions of something is a something, and then there's 1,000 of another thing. So you have credits and duffs, which are both. One is like 100 million Dash, and one is like a billion Dash or something like that. These numbers are definitely wrong, but that's kind of the gist of it.
All right. Let me create the retrieval of my identity. So what this is doing is getting the wallet, getting the identities, and for all of what it detects, it's trying to print the balance of them.
Yeah, this is your read or your get. You'll notice almost every commander you create is basically going to be some part of a CRUD operation.
Okay. I think this is going to take the same time. I'm going to skip this for now. Let's see what it comes back with. Let me create top of identities, which is probably going to add some balance. Let's add the script. What's it doing here is getting the wallet, getting the IDs, and then it's trying to top up with this much of credits. And then identity credit balance for this ID is, so once it has topped the account, it will try to print it. Yeah, makes sense.
And so the reason why this needs to be done, this took me so long to understand, is because you have the Dash, which you got from the faucet, but then your identities that are on the platform, for them to do things, you have to turn some of that Dash into credits and then give it to the specific identity ID. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. All right, so let me run this. I think this should be ran after this is done. Yeah, this has come up, which says.
So yeah, this happens sometimes. So this is the type of error that we get occasionally on the create identity, and it totally nerfs everything. This means you hit a bad node, basically. There's a way to go into your client to give a specific node, but we don't really need to do this command because we're just reading back the identity we just created. So let's just skip this one. This one breaks half the time anyway, so it is what it is.
All right. So
I know like the exact percentage of times specific things break because I've gone through this so many times.
No worries. That things are meant to be broken in software, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and hopefully once we get to mainnet, things will be a little more stable because it's hard to really have an incentive to like make sure the test net is always up. Just like, oh, you can't get your pretend money right now. Sorry.
All right, so it's now trying to top up my identity. Let's see what it comes back with. Meanwhile, I'm going to create another script that I can run and then wait for. So we have register name and then create a label in your env with your desired name. See the implementation details for naming constraints. Okay, so I have to name something in my env. Let's first go to my env and then I'm going to say label. So maximum length is 63 and then 0 to 9, A to Z.
You're the first person to go to this section and actually read this part.
Domain labels are, I actually love documentation, so I always try to go to the links that I see in the blog. Like I didn't see some of them before, but
no, you've followed every line and like read them all out, and like you're dialed in. I can totally tell.
Yeah. All right. So I have to have numbers, hyphen, and characters. Sounds good. Let me do something random. I don't know. Let's name it on my name, I believe. Does this look correct as a label?
So I think it says that it cannot be at the end. So that's the where it says the note. Use of a prefix or suffix is not allowed. Yeah, that's good. You born in 1990?
No, I'm 2000.
Okay, what's the 94?
I just picked this off these two numbers. I had no idea. So
cool. I thought it was just like a lot of people would do like the year they were born or something like that, you know?
Got it. So yeah, identity credit balance. It come up fine, and I do have some credits. We have created the label, which is great. Where is the script for register name? Okay, here is it.
It's right there. Yeah, it's the next part.
So what it's trying to do is get my identity based off the env variable. Makes sense. Then we get the ID, get the name, and then what it's trying to do after that. So it's trying to register based on my dash label, and it's just printing my label. Is that correct, or is this going to be something different? Okay,
it's going to, yes. So it's just going to give you the same label you already have to confirm that it worked, and that's also going to give you a link to see it on the Block Explorer.
Got it. Yeah, and the link to it. Got it. Makes sense.
Do you know much about JSON schema?
I have heard of it. So it's basically you define how would a JSON basically look like.
Because if you look over at the end of this console log, so just scroll to the right a little bit in your code editor in the code part.
Yeah, in the code part. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So how it's name registration.toJSON with the $sign ID.
Right.
This is something that took me so long to figure out. I kept getting undefined and stuff. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So this has to do with JSON schema, which I don't really know anything about.
Got it. Yeah, those are usually the links of what the schema JSON is, and then it gets configured during the runtime, whether in editor or when you're deploying something. I've seen this in probably shared CN being used, or in another project. But yeah, I've seen JSON schema before.
Cool.
All right, so this is going to wait for some time, but we know what it's going to say. So let's create the script for retrieve name now. Retrieve name, yes, and then we paste this here. What this trying to do is pick up my label and get the document associated. That will be probably just getting out from this one. And yeah, all right, so I've got this. If I click on this link, it has some identifier, the owner ID, and then has my label. Sounds good.
So
Yeah,
now this is kind of both. This is the identity part. And it's also already the data storage part. Just like you need your own kind of account information saved in there. So now you got this. This is your identity on the Dash platform.
Got it. What's this normalized label? Like probably this is for internal use, but it somehow changed my eyes to 1.
Yeah, this is a very specific security thing, and
Okay.
that takes out basically attack vectors, so people wouldn't accidentally put like a 0 for an O or a 1 for an I or something like that. So it's like, I think that's also why it's like 58 base instead of 64.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, we have added the script for retrieve name. Let's do that.
And that's going to give you back basically the exact same thing you just saw.
The thing that we saw here. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so it did give me those. We should see label and normalized label. Yeah, all right. Makes sense. Now we come to data contracts. A data contract on Dash serves as a blueprint for the data that is intended to be stored. It defines the JSON schema as you're talking about. So contracts enable the platform to validate. They're crucial, and they're used for runtime retrieval. Okay, so this is basically going to look at the data that we just saw pertaining to my ID.
And it's going to allow you to create your own kind of data blob that you want. So this was your name was already predefined, and they already had a schema, whereas you're going to now be able to define, like if you wanted to write Hacker News, you would be creating, users with posts that can make comments on other posts. This is going to be like just a single string with some text that will have like an author. So it's like there's going to be very, very little actually happening here. But it's like it's kind of like this part is hard to map to CRUD exactly. So you have to first create the data contract, which defines the kind of data you're going to give it. And then you create a document, which is the actual data that the data contract understands.
Got it.
So that will make sense once we do this.
Yeah, I think it does. We're just defining what will be incoming, and then we said what is incoming, and then we're sending a document, which is like what is bound to receive. Like we have configured, hey, this is what will be coming to you, and then we are let's say doing a put operation of the schema that we have defined. So that's what I understand, I believe. Yeah, all right. So in register contract, we are trying to get my ID. We're defining the data that will go out, and then we create a contract on basis of that, and then we are sending the actual data. All right, so that's good. Then we done register contract. And this is going to give me the contract ID, and this is there.
And make sure you let this finish. This is not done yet. This is something a couple people have messed up. So now that it has a contract ID, it needs to then run the publish command after console logging.
Yep, totally. I see that. So yeah, this has defined the destination, and now it's sending the data to destination is what I understand from this. So contract is registered, and then it will go to retrieve contract. Okay. While this finishes, I'll probably
you're flying through this tutorial. By the way, you're probably gonna have the fastest completion time. And like half the people didn't even get to the end because the network was so messed up. We didn't really know how to fix it for a couple of the episodes. And then we learned how. So then we had a better way of recovering after that. But for the ones that actually just worked the first time, everyone has gotten to the end.
That's great. I think they should come to India. All right, so this expired, which is the one for registering the contract, and this was actually the publish command that failed.
Okay, so this is now the moment. I would say first just try running it again, and let's see what happens. Yeah. It might fix itself, but if not, then we're gonna go into our client and configure a specific IP address.
But isn't that going to create another contract?
It will, but both the contracts will have been the same thing,
Yeah, I see.
essentially. You didn't
I
change
see.
your codes. And you can see, are they the same or are they different?
I do think they're the same. So 5, I'm just checking about the first
Mhm.
few letters. So 5YHK and YQ2.
Because
Is
what it
what I
might
see.
be doing is it might be taking the schema itself and then running some kind of hash on it. So if it would always
Yeah.
be the same if it's not changed. I don't know if that's the case or not. That's just my guess because that's how IPFS does stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But give me 1 second. I think I know exactly where the code is that I need if this is still broken. Here's a good node. Yeah. Okay.
While this is getting resolved, I'm going to create my scripts. So I'll create
Keep on rolling.
update contract yes. Let me add that. And then user identity ID along with contract ID to create the document schema and then update it. Okay. This probably makes sense to me. You're trying to get my identity, you get my contract that I have created, and then get the schema of it. And then we are updating it with my note of schema. And then we send out the command to update it. All right. This is done for update contract. Add an app's object to client options and pass the contact ID to enable name and document syntax while accessing contact documents. For example, this particular dot note, that's what we did in I think update. So yeah, let's update in client. So the client is now basically aware of, okay, I think this worked.
Oh, it
So
did?
yeah,
Great.
contract is now registered. We have the contract ID, and I believe I need to add this to my ENV because we are picking this up later. So let me quickly add that. Cool. So we have now updated the client to specify the particular contract ID this is all about. Let me go back some commands now. So this one in particular was about register contract. Let's run retrieve contract. So I'm going to retrieve contract.
So the sense I'm getting that even though you don't know anything about crypto or blockchain or anything, all of this code has made perfect sense to you so far for the most part.
Yeah, looks fine to me. Like I'm able to understand what's happening. So right now, what I've got is that there are two platforms. One has the currency, and then we're converting the currency to another, and then we're specifying two things. That is my storage area, and then one is my ID area, and then we are operating on creating transactions in form of contracts. I believe. Yeah, that's all I have got for now.
Yeah, you got it. Nailed it.
All right. So I've run retrieve contract, and this is now trying to. This has printed the JSON
That's it.
for
That's
the
the output, I think.
contract. Yeah, and it has the note to the schema. All right.
Yeah, you should take a
Now,
look at that link to the
here.
Platform Explorer, the one that it gave you. Yeah, I think this will be the last time we'll do this, or maybe not. But this is just a good way to always kind of like double check exactly what happened. So I think you can go to the schema on the bottom.
Yeah,
Yep, there you
and I
go.
see. Yeah, there has been no message,
Yeah,
and
cool.
we can attach basically a note to the transaction. So that's what I get. All right. Uh, Now let's move on to creating the update contract, which is, yeah, I think I walked through this. This will get the existing node and then specify a string, which has author, and then set it to the node itself. Okay, so let's run this, which is update contract. Okay. Now let's run this. So it should be updating in this particular ring, correct? Where we have the schema already. And then we're just
Yeah, that's a good
uh,
question. If the contract ID is not changing, then yeah, that should be
yeah,
the same place.
got it.
Yep.
Let's see how does this go. We have which is going to take time. I'll use this time to create my own scripts for now. I have updated this client. I will now create a script that is submit node document. .js. And then we put it in here, which is going to take my identity, create a document, and this says hello from this particular user at this particular time. And then we're sending it out to all the nodes as described earlier. And then we have document ID, which is the new document that we have created, the schema ID of it. And then, yeah, we're just printing JSON of it. Sounds good. So this will give me the document ID and the JSON and stuff. Sounds good. Let's pick up documents while this runs. All right, so this worked, which is update the contract. So this updated the contract to have a note. Let's go here and refresh the page to see the updated schema. And yes, in the note, we see the author here with some message. But yeah, I do see the author updated in the schema. So that's great. All right, let me quickly copy the get documents thing. Now I'm going to first run the get documents to see what all is there in my particular documents, and then we'll update it using submit document. Okay, so I have no message because I've not run submit document. Let me run that now. Submit. What is the script for running getting this one? All right. Yeah. So, all right. So we are now publishing another document which has a note. And then we'll fetch it using get document. Sounds good to me. Cool.
You would probably assume they'll all take a decent amount of time. So if you want to just, as soon as you run the thing, you just start doing the next part every time.
Let's do it. We create update node document. So right now I am able to create one. I am able to fetch all of them. Next is updating them. Yeah, this is starting to feel like CRUD actually. And yeah, I think I'm getting the hang of it. Though I don't know what's happening really underneath it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about the platform is you don't have to worry about any of that. The idea is it's just like a globally distributed database that you can interact with.
Yeah. All right, let's rename this file. I added an extra S.
Are you a relational guy or a NoSQL guy?
I am learning relational now, but I am a sort of a NoSQL guy.
Yeah. You probably grew up on the MERN stack, if I had to guess, or I guess it would be mean for you.
Yes, that was Angular first, and yeah, really not using Mongo really. Dynamo was the one that but yeah, more or less.
Oh, that's way better.
All right, so we have submitted the document. Now let's try to fetch it using the get documents. And now I have added two scripts, which is going to update it and delete it. Yeah, all right. Makes sense. So I have this message that I added in submit node document. Where is that? Yeah, this one. So we have added a message with the name and the time, which is here. Sounds good. Now let's update the document. So this will try to get my identity, get my documents, the specific one with the ID, and then update the message with the new time zone, new time label. Let's update it. Update node document. And then it's going to again broadcast it everyone with the replace command instead of adding to it. Okay, makes sense. And then we're going to delete this node. This is fun.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I remember the first time I went through this process with oh, it looks like it broke.
Yeah, this is
right.
Yeah, let's run this again.
Interesting. I didn't used to have it give you the label in the in there. You said I have my own name hard coded. I'm not sure if
I
that
see.
might be the issue.
This says internal server error for storage protocol.
Try getting
This
rid
will
of label and writing your thing directly in it. So hello from Rishi-90.
got it. Let's do Rishi-ID.
Just so I can narrow down whether that's what's actually happening or if this is a different error. And if we can't get this one working, it's not the end of the world because we just need something to be written there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, it says internal server error for storage protocol. Structure value are not bytes, a string, or array of values. And this looks particularly internal SDK. You should probably, I don't know. But yeah, I think for now we can skip this part because it's just updating the document. How about we delete it? Let's delete the document with the ID. So let's delete that. All right. So this is now going to fetch the document and then delete it. And the delete failed as well. So there's probably something on the address.
Okay.
Says the request failed.
Yeah. This is the last part where you're writing to the chain. So I'm gonna say we should just move on because you understand what the updating and deleting is gonna do.
Yeah.
So from here, this is you now turn this into like an actual full stack app. You're gonna build an Express endpoint to expose your name endpoint essentially that will return your name information. So we can just go ahead on that part.
I'm just trying to fetch the documents again to see if the message is there, and that's there. So it's in particular to delete or update functionality, I believe.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to do some testing on that to figure out what's going on there.
No worries. Now we are just basically going to map this to Express and CRS card. Makes sense. So we creating server.js.
If you were to build a Node backend with like a Node framework, what would you use or would you not use a framework? I guess.
Right now, I think Hono is quite hot right now, so I'll go with that.
Hono is tight. I'm just starting to learn Hono.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, Express is a good old thing for us to
get started. A lot of times I'll go with Express if I'm just doing like a tutorial like this because I know everyone's going to understand it. It's probably the worst choice for like an actual production server compared to things like Fastify and Hono and like all these other amazing ones out there. But it gets the job done.
Yes. Cool. So we have created an Express app with CRS enabled, and then we're on each route that is dynamic to name. It will get the identity and try to get basically the ID of the person, as I understand. Yeah. So it's trying to say no identity found in case it's not done, and that's going to disconnect. Makes sense. Now we run the Express, which is now running on 3001, and then I'm trying to curl. So the name I should be entering here is Rishi-90, correct?
Yeah, that'll be the one gotcha there.
Because that's my label dot dash. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's open this in my new tab instead of doing the curl. So Rishi-90. What does this give me? Okay, so it's probably using something from
cool. That's funny. I think you're the first one to do that. Just actually put it into a browser. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, super not fan of curls. Like I had to see something in there, and probably that's because I didn't have JSON PP installed, and I was hesitant to do it. And that's why I just went ahead with this one. But yeah, I see the data coming in for particular ID. I have the normalized label in the label. So this is basically just getting the ID.
Could you try writing that command? Because I'm just curious. Because I don't think you need to explicitly install the JSON PP, but I'd be curious to figure out.
All right, let's do curl, and then we take the output to be JSON compatible. This actually failed for some reason, which says cannot.
You didn't put quotes around it.
Oh no! It actually disconnected the dash line, so the script exited. run the express, and then in another terminal we will do that. So cool, and then yeah, this is going to fetch. Okay, I do have it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's coming in. Nice to know that I have this on BP.
Yeah, it's just specifically to pretty print your curl outputs. That's the only thing it does, at least that I use it for.
Right, so now we are creating our next app, which is what I'm super familiar with. So let's name it as Dash app. Yes. Oh wait, do you want me to use TypeScript? I don't know. All right.
You should try it out. We'll see what happens. The version I build, I usually don't use TypeScript, but it should still work.
Yes, we're using this source. Okay. App router, yes.
Yep.
And more customization required.
Do you do everything on App Router now?
No. So Launchfast Next.js is on Pages Router, and I had people and a poll on Twitter which allowed me to start migrating it to the App Router. So I've migrated the APIs, and now I'm migrating each component to App Router. I've heard a lot of. It's sort of tricky because there's some things that just don't work with App Router. I recently learned about how to use Grammy SDK, that is for creating Telegram bots. So I wrote an article about it because I didn't know that there's experimental server components config that you can use in Next.js. So yeah, there's a learning curve, but I'm doing it so that other people don't have to. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I got the link right here. I think I can flash that on the screen real quick. Bam. Yeah, once we're finished with this, we could take like 5 minutes. You can kind of show the homepage and stuff for Launch FA.
Sure. I'd be happy to.
We're gonna be done like 25 minutes early, and then I'll be curious, like your thoughts on the platform and what you would want to build with it if you were to.
Sure. So let's walk through Launchfast pretty quickly.
I'll say once we finish the tutorial, I'll say we should take a look at this. Let's get to the end of the tutorial first.
All right, sure, makes sense. Okay. I'll hide this for now.
You'll get a chance to make your pitch. Don't worry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'm here to work on Dash. It's totally fine.
It
is. This is going to take time, I believe. Let's just put the script for now. So we have page.tsx. Let's put it here. So this is just going to fetch something and then print my identity. There's no JSON for it.
So this is just to double check that you got your next thing set up and just have a kind of boilerplate page set up. It doesn't. You'll add the logic to actually get your stuff after that.
Got it. Let's do npm run dev, which is 3000. And yeah, the starter app is ready. Then we are to replace this with this particular code, which is going to do the same thing that we did. And then
and actually, I have an error in here that I still need to fix. It has my own name hard coded in the endpoint. So look where you're hitting that. Yeah.
Rishi 90. And then I need to also have the server running, correct? And that's something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We improved. So we do npm run express.
You might still be running it. Yeah.
Express. Okay. Cool. Let's go to actually reload this page. So this should.
You might need to
fetch. I think this is correct.
No, there we go. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I need a loading state.
Yes.
Need some of them spinning. Yeah, you kind of need lots of spinners for this one.
Yeah. So now we have the loading state that we were just referring to.
Right. I already did that. I forgot. We need the fetch button though to get it.
Yes. So we have fetch data. Let's click on fetch data.
There's your loading. Yeah. It doesn't spin, but it does tell you it's loading.
Yeah, useful design. Yeah. So
This is exactly what this. I probably just do this by habit because Redwood JS they have this concept of the cell, which will have a built-in loading state, and that's when you first create your boilerplate cell. It just says loading ...
got it. Still loading.
Loading. Yeah, it worked last time, so
Ah,
it
it
definitely.
is. Again, this is
I
the
yeah, that
in
makes
the
sense.
code snippets. And
Yeah.
yeah, let's reload the page. It should be much faster now.
Yeah, once we get this to work, actually, since you know Next very well, could you just make an environment variable for me to fix that?
Ah, sure. Yep.
Yeah. Because you should be able to just access. Well, I guess you create because of the Next app is now inside of your project. You would need it won't necessarily be able to reach out to the .env. You need a separate
Yeah.
env.local file, I guess, probably.
It is somehow not responding. Okay, this is responding now. Where is my next tab? Okay, let's
Yeah, just make
reload
sure to refresh that.
Yeah.
Just
Okay,
refresh
I
the whole
need to
page
refresh
first.
that.
Yeah, there we
And
go.
then comes in. Awesome.
Great.
This is working, and now we have to set up an env as you said. So let's do an env. We're going to say next public name, or let's label, and then Rishi 90, and then we can use this in the fetch. So I think it should be it.
There we go.
Let's reload the page, fetch data, and it comes in. So it's coming in now from an env. I think using next public is important because you're loading the page on the client side and
That's
you
right.
want
Yeah.
to get to it. So yeah, cool. This is done, and this is great. I would say we did have some of the commands that failed, and that was for updating the document. But apart from that, I think all worked fine for me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was good. The stuff that needed to work pretty much
Yeah.
worked. And now you could imagine like you could build out endpoints to do all the other kind of functionality that we just implemented in scripts. And then you could expose that through your UI. And then you have kind of it's just a general app building platform with, your basic kind of CRUD operations. So you could probably imagine things you could build with this, I would assume.
Yes, I do. So basically, using these scripts, probably I don't know if it's the right use case for crypto, but as I see that I can have transaction with documents, so I'm using something called Splitwise, and that allows me to showcase, allow me to add or maintain the expenses with other people, and so
What is it called?
Splitwise.
Splitwise. I
Yeah,
think I've
this
heard
was
you talk about this.
Split bills the easy way. And yeah, so we are always adding note about what this transaction or expense is for. I'm really liking this update in submit note document, which will allow me to have a label to a transaction apart from just the transaction ID and yeah, some numbers that I don't understand. So yeah, I think I would straight up go ahead and build that for example. It's like a to do for finance is where you can
Gotcha. No,
showcase.
that's awesome. And yeah, and we're like, so the Dash itself, the way it funds this development has something called a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, where
Mhm.
basically there's a certain amount of funds in the network that get set aside for paying people who submit proposals to build stuff. So if you wanted to like build that and integrate Dash, then we could get in touch with Ryan. We could figure that out because we're always looking for more contributors. That was kind of one of the things we were hoping we would be able to get people in and show them this, and then they'd be like, "Oh, cool! I can build this thing with it now." So the fact you already have an idea for it is great. If you don't do it, then I can do it, but it'd be better if you did it.
Sure, I will do it once I have some flexibility on my plate for sure.
And it'll be more useful once we're on mainnet, like a month or two as well. So no rush on that. But do you have any kind of like remaining questions about this whole
Yeah,
deal? Or
yeah, I think I understood the flow and what's happening here, but probably it's great to have a distinction between the contract, the document, and what is where does my ID lie? So I don't know. I'm not a crypto expert, and that's why I'm
Mhm,
asking for this. So we
mhm,
have a document which has the ability to have a node that's
mhm.
representing a transaction, I would say. But having a walkthrough of what's a document, what's a contract, and how are they separated is probably good to know, because I'm
Mhm.
always assuming that there are transactions underneath. But
Right.
what's happening inside of that is sort of unclear. Probably we can have.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, the way I wrote it and the way I make sense of this stuff is through the Explorer. So that's
Mhm.
why if I wrote it in a way where every time you do one of those steps, you can then go look at the Explorer to see kind of what has changed. But you're
Okay.
right that a lot of this is kind of like jargon that might not necessarily make a whole bunch of sense. And this is kind of one of the big problems with like blockchain in general is just like
Mhm.
it's the whole network and all the data is public and anyone can look at it, but it's just like, but how, because it's just like this huge hunk of code that has different ways of interacting with it. Because most blockchains will have like an RPC endpoint, and then they'll have these client libraries. So you're using the JavaScript SDK, is also a Rust SDK, and they also are just exposing like gRPC endpoints. So you could just hit the endpoints on testnet or your own node and kind of introspect it. But then you're getting like really deep into reading all this docs to make sense of that. So that's why I think the explorers can be a good way to kind of get some visibility into what's happening here in terms of like how it's happening, like how the transactions are being written and stuff like that. That's kind
Mhm.
of being handled by the network. And you can go learn about how the network does it. But the network itself, like there's a clear separation with blockchain where once the blockchain network itself is created, you just interact with it and it shouldn't change. You'll write code that's like the app layer on top, but it's like a protocol. It's like you can learn how TCP works, but you don't have to worry about changing underneath you.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I get it. I am yet to use TRPC for building a super cool app. Uh, but yeah,
I've
makes
never used
sense.
gRPC, and I I've used like JSON RPC because that's how you would interact
Oh,
with like Ethereum. Is it gives you can just curl it and send JSON objects that kind of say like the information how it works. And so this is kind of closer to that. Ethereum has a
okay.
also they have something called smart contracts, which is totally like there's no way of mapping these things onto each other because with Ethereum you can actually put a program on the blockchain that has the ability to read, write, and manipulate variables and do all this stuff, whereas you can't
Okay.
do that here. The actual logic is in the platform and you can only write documents to it and then update those documents and interact
Got
with
it.
those documents,
Yeah,
whereas with Ethereum you can actually put a brand new program on that could do anything. It could just take all your money. You have no idea until you read the code.
I see.
Yeah.
That's why probably I'm not going into crypto, I believe. But I see a lot of things happening which sort of have me
it's
scared.
it's crazy, man. Yeah, you got to be really careful about it and make sure you're using proper. It really makes you think about security a lot more because people like everyone's worried or should be worried about getting hacked, but in the back of our minds, like a lot of people will still like kind of skip steps and will like be vulnerable in certain ways. Whereas like once you've actually had your wallet hacked and your money just like stolen, you're like, oh wow, this is why you don't click random links on the internet that are fed to you with a random pop-up.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds somewhat scary, I would say. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, with Dash, it's they really think about security and they've been around for a really long time. So the newer a network is, the more kind of attack vectors are going to be, especially if they're trying to do like brand new things you couldn't do before. So in terms
Mhm.
of like having a vulnerable wallet that someone could phish you, there's ways of doing that with different cryptos. Like if you just have your wallet as like an extension in your browser, you're exposed anytime you click a link anywhere in your browser because you have this extension running all the time. But with a lot of times with Dash, I don't think there even is a browser extension. You can download a desktop app or a wallet app and then that will let you generate a wallet like we did here, except it'll be a wallet on mainnet on the original Dash. So that's where you would have
Got it.
money, and then that is kind of like secure, like a banking app or something like that, you know.
Yeah, that's a much needed gap to cover. Yeah, we are using testnet for this.
Mhm.
Probably good to have mainnet, but that would require real money. So definitely not going there for now.
Yeah, Ryan was saying that doing the even once this is on mainnet, it's still gonna be pretty cheap to create an identity. I think he was
Uh,
saying it should be like just a couple dollars or something like that. When I got my Ethereum name, you know what I paid for ajcwebdev.eth? $200, because this is when the market was like super run up, and once the network gets congested, you have to pay more to get it on there because everyone's trying to use this as like a supply and demand type thing. And the .eth namespace, that's the only one you want. Like, you don't want .ether, like, because that you're gonna be
yeah.
the only weirdo who uses this one other thing. That you want the Ethereum namespace. So there's like a scarcity to it as well. But
Yes.
yeah, according to Ryan, it's not gonna be super expensive to buy one, but we shall see. So you gotta make sure you gotta get Rishi.dash as soon as it's available.
Sure. Where do I check it? Or you're checking it for me?
So let's since we got some time now, do you want to show your launch project for a bit?
Sure, happy to always. Let
Mm.
me.
How long have you been building this for now? Because did you start this before or after you left Edgeo?
This was after, definitely after Edgeo, and I think after 6 months after that.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
this started in October, so I had another like this is inspired project for sure, and I saw Mark launching Ship Fast, and then I was like, I can do something, but for Astro, because like people are building websites in Astro for static content, but they can also use it for dynamic as well. So that's what the intention was initially, and that did receive great love even from the Astro community as well. And then yeah, it has been a great project. I'm also learning while I'm building this. So it's basically like I've initially started out to be a boilerplate. Now it's like more like a starter kit because you get everything configured for you. You can accept logins using various methods. Right now it's Google and Twitter. Of course, you can expand. Like by default, it's Google and Twitter, but it can use several methods. And then it can, I recently transformed it to use any Postgres or Redis. So it's like flip a switch. You change an environment variable and you can now use Redis or you can now use Postgres. You just need to define some URLs
Were
for
you in the
importing.
Astro DB preview at all?
No, it's not using AstroDB for now. So I've tried to focus this project on like building it on REST APIs.
Yeah,
Every external
and I was asking if you had just done the DB, like if you played around with it at all, not if it was in this. I know it's not in this project.
I see. No, I didn't get a chance at it. I need to definitely look into it and what set up.
So it's a bummer because I was planning on doing it, and then they closed it because it was a preview, and then they're like,
Mhm.
we're gonna close this until we release the real thing. If you're in the preview, you can still keep using it, but now they're not taking new users. So like, now I gotta wait for the real thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be too long. They ship pretty fast, so I'm assuming in the
Oh,
next 3 to 6 months they'll launch the actual one. But the database is one you gotta make sure you don't mess up.
by the time I make some updates, I see new Astro version coming up all the time.
Mhm.
So Astro is moving super fast, and I like it. I like
Well,
that.
the content layer they're about to add will probably be really useful for something like this because that's going to allow you to bring in a whole bunch of other crap.
What's that?
So did you hear that? So they did that big release where they had three big announcements. They had the server islands, and then they
Yes.
had the
Yes.
content.
This one.
Yeah, so server and content. Yeah, so it's like Gatsby. It's just Astro now has a Gatsby thing, like a content mesh that lets you hit different endpoints and mash them all together.
Got it. I see. Yeah, I'm yet to use this. Definitely when this, I'm excited for this, and I can probably merge this back into
So
Launchfast.
you don't have like CMS integrations yet, do you?
No, there's no CMS as of now.
Yeah, so that's kind of what this. I imagine what this is for someone who wants to bring in, something because they're using Contentful or whatever.
I get it now. So using this, I can build components that correspond to parts in my CMS, and then I can plug them anywhere in my project. Okay, but yeah, let's see how does that turn out, because I need to learn it first and then add it to or play around it and then probably add it. Yeah, and then the payments thing that you were talking about is already configured. I'm yet to add a script where it auto converts the currency, because in India you cannot accept in foreign currency, so you have to convert every time you go to a particular country user. So yeah, I will
So
add
that's where
that.
crypto is really interesting, because it takes that whole thing away. If someone has crypto, they want to pay someone else in crypto, they have the dash, they give someone else the dash, and there doesn't need to be any conversion. Then they can convert the dash to whatever their national currency is
Got it.
once they have it. And Stripe integrates with a couple crypto solutions that support dash. So
That's great.
whatever, as long as you have Stripe integrating the project already, it should be trivial. This is actually something I'm planning on building, like a quick start guide of how to just build a quick Stripe integration, and then show the actual steps of doing the dash part of, like, because there's, I forget what the two things are that it integrates with. I can let me look this up real quick. So
Stripe dash,
look up just Stripe crypto integrations.
Stripe crypto integration. Yeah.
Okay, so keep going. Yep, keep going.
NFT, and then we're covering. Cool. Yeah.
So I think at the very top it showed a bunch of. Hold on, stop right there. Yeah, that's not it. Hold on. I do know where this is on the actual Dash website. I just gotta pull it up. It's let's see. Providers and tools. Yeah, this is okay. So now payments is one, and the other one I think was
now payments with that is what I should search.
So look up now payments and Stripe.
I see now payments and then Stripe. Pay now payments, is that the one? No, this is Singapore. Okay, probably this one.
I think that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of providers here. Where do you find the one for Stripe? In this one?
I don't know. I've never done this before, so we don't need to necessarily get too deep into this. But if you just go to their docs, or just actually, let me do this now. Payments, Stripe integration docs.
Accept payments. Correct. Let's open this one. Oh,
pay now is
nice. Create payment. Stripe. Yeah, I don't see this Stripe in here. In now payments API, but anyways, yeah, I think we can.
I think
no worries.
Okay, here's something that's basically gonna get the idea across. Go to docs.stripe.com/crypto.
Okay.
There you go. And just kind of scroll through that. Try the sample integration. Let's see what that is.
Okay, so this is using pre-built page with Stripe fiat to crypto on ramp. And what is that? That's something I need to learn.
You go to the JS instead of Ruby. There we go.
Yeah, it's Loading time for NAM, creating a session.
Okay, cool. So what this is doing is it says USDC. That's the destination currency. So USDC is a stable coin.
Mhm.
Pretty sure that's Coinbase's stable coin. So this is where you would turn basically whatever your country's native currency is into that. So for there, if this may not necessarily work, so this may not be integrated with the right things, but ideally you could just change that to say Dash and then it would turn into Dash. There might be more steps, like I said. I know that you need to use now payments or what the other thing that integrates with it. So these are things I need to figure out this is why I need to write the tutorial. But this kind of gives you an idea of like once you have Stripe integrated, they have already built in a lot of crypto tooling and endpoints and client stuff for you.
Nice, that's great. I'm happy to add an integration once I learn about it.
Sweet.
Yes, looks good.
Awesome, man. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about, or like, you could probably give your contact information and stuff if anyone watching wants to check your things out or contact you?
Sure. You could find me on Twitter. So that's Rishi.Jain. I'm always building launchpads, as you can see here for sure. And then we have Rishi.app, where you can find my portfolio and you can have a lot of social links to reach out to me. So yeah.
Is this built with Astro also?
This is built with SvelteKit, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, this is with SvelteKit. So I'm trying out different things, but I love the near HTML syntax of SvelteKit. But I've heard that runes in SvelteKit 5 is going to be something new. So I'm excited to try that out once that comes out.
Yeah, no, I liked SvelteKit when it first came out. I haven't really kept up with it recently because I just have been like sticking with Astro and React for the most part, which is just like so fast to work with. And I love Astro, so that's why I was stoked that you like built this really cool Astro project.
Yes, for sure. You should change that tutorial to use Astro instead then. Just kidding.
Awesome, man. Cool. So thanks so much for doing this. I'm gonna end the stream here, but stay on just once we go live so we can talk afterwards. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch you at the next one.